Mr. Governor, dear Bookmaster, dear Rector of this wonderful university, I had prepared my words in French, but I was told to say it in English, so I'll be saying it, I will improvise in English. Well, dear ambassadors, they are there, and dear members of the Portuguese Parliament, I call your attention to the, in a way, historic nature of this visit. Not just because it's the first Portuguese president to visit Namur and to visit your university, because also the whole delegation is very representative of the different political power institutions in Portugal. You have the president, you have the government, you have the Minister for Foreign Affairs, he's there. And he's also a professor. He's at home. And the MPs, the members of the parliament, they come from every parliamentary group in our so-called Assembly of Republic. It's the name of our parliament, with just a single chamber. They present so many different parties, from the far right to the far left. So you have different institutions, different points of views, and also some of us in our delegation being professors. I myself am a professor, law professor. In Portugal we have the tradition of having law, public law connected with political sciences. Minister for Foreign Affairs is mostly coming from political sciences, international relations, both political and economic. And some of the MPs themselves have lectured throughout their lives. So we feel at home. It's wonderful to feel at home. And this is the first university we're going to visit. Not by chance. First time the Portuguese president comes to Namur, first university to be visited. But why? Because you have so wonderful, marvelous and prestigious universities. Because you are at the same time experienced but very young. You are a young university. Oh, you can tell me, anyhow, 200 years is not being too young. But it is a young university. Made of humanities, science and technology, but also education, international relations. And this makes, from this university, a very, very special university. Then, of course, with relations with Portuguese universities. Many Portuguese universities, different Portuguese universities. You've spoken of so many and so different. In different important cities and areas, metropolitan areas of Portugal. Then I know you have Portuguese students. Where are they? Where are they? Please don't be shy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, enjoying, I hope. Happy for being here. You are in the center of Europe. You know it. Belgium is the center of Europe. And Europe for us is the center of the world. Europe for us, Europeans, is the center of the world. In the balance of powers in the world, Europe has a unique role to play. On account of our history, our geography, our geopolitical and geostrategic position, our capacity of dialogue, of tolerance. Because we are a union of brotherly countries that have in common respect for the rule of law, democracy, freedom, human rights, but also fairness, social justice, openness to the world. We have been all over the world. We are still with our diasporas all over the world. And this makes Europe different. And you are in the core of Europe. And you will always be, because Belgium will be forever the center of Europe. Of course, there are enlargements to the east. Of course, we have very strong transatlantic relations with the West. But we are really in the center of the world. And in the case of Namur, we have not only these students, but so many Portuguese, a strong Portuguese community living here and living in this region. I was told 14,000 dans la Wallonie and around 1,000 in Namur. It's quite a lot. Quite a lot. But let me, being professor of law and having studied law history, recall someone, Antoine Thomas, dont on va parler tout de suite, n'est-ce pas? Madame la rectrice, un tout petit peu de français quand même. On était francophone, on le redevient avec tant de français, mais aussi surtout de Belges qui arrivent. Vous saviez que la Belgique est notre partenaire numéro 8 en commerce, venant de 18e, aujourd'hui le 8e. Ça fait la différence. Eh bien, Antoine Thomas s'est rendu à Coimbra. He was in the University of Coimbra, the oldest university in Portugal, in the 17th century. And he had the opportunity, unique opportunity, of seeing an eclipse de la Lune. And he wrote about it. I won't say a treaty, but a study, his research, that made a difference at that time. So, being here is, for me, recalling the 40 years as professor of university. I think a little bit more between student and professor. Then recalling that the students were the most interesting part in the university. The worst were our colleagues. At that time, after the PhD, we belonged to the center of power, scientific center of power in school. And we were sitting for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, beside the same colleagues. Then it changed, because we had elections for our bodies, and it changed a lot. But for decades, they were the same. So we knew with our colleagues exactly what they thought about anything. If they were sick or not, if they were happy that day or not. Well, that was pleasant at the same time, because it's a family. The university is a family. Each faculty, each school is a smaller family. Each group, each department is even a smaller family. But sometimes our colleagues were boring. Being a family. But the students were never boring. Never. Because every year there was a new group of students with new ideas, or new ways of expressing the same ideas. And that made us change. I never lectured the same subject, the same way. Never. Never. It changed. Sometimes I had administrative law which is really a very heavy branch of law. Not necessarily very interesting. Anyway, very useful for one's life in the future. And I had classes in the morning, in the afternoon, and late evening for those that worked, coming from their jobs. They were sleepy. I was a little bit sleepy also. So we had to find a way of changing the subject. And having the same subject treated in the morning, the afternoon, and late evening, I changed always something, not to be exactly the same. It couldn't be, because people were different. In the morning, they were very, very, very young. In the afternoon, there was a mixture of younger people and people in the 50s, 60s, 70s. I considered them at that time very old. Now I have a different idea on this subject. And in the evening, well, some of them came from Belgium. There was a driver, a track driver, that at the same time was studying law, a Belgian, Luso-Belgian. You may imagine, after so many hours, and sometimes a day and a half or 2 days of driving, he never missed a class. For him, I had to have a new story, always about Belgium and relations with Portugal. Well, I'm very happy for being with you. Je suis très heureux d'être ici, chez vous, à cette université. Je vous félicite, Madame la rectrice. Ça, c'est l'avenir. Et vous, jeunes étudiants, vous pouvez vous considérer des privilégiés. Bien sûr, aujourd'hui, c'est facile d'arriver à l'université. Quand j'étais jeune, non. Au Portugal, pendant la dictature, c'était très difficile. Juste une minorité avait la possibilité économique, et leur famille, d'étudier jusqu'à la fin de l'université. Mais quand même, vous êtes privilégiés, étant ici, belge ou étudiant en Belgique, à Namur, dans cette université qui a de l'histoire, mais qui a surtout de l'avenir. Merci bien, mes félicitations. Vive l'université de Namur, vive la Belgique.